Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really cool, actually, that you brought up, the Monkey Talisman from Jackie Chan Adventures.
Yeah, it's a fan favorite, definitely.
For sure. So our mission is to really get into it, go beyond just what it does on the surface. We want to understand its origins, how those shape-shifting powers work, maybe some of the weirder stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And we're drawing mainly from the Jackie Chan Adventures wiki,
Yeah.
right, as our source.
Exactly. That's our guide for this. So let's dive in. The Monkey Talisman, it's one of 12.
Right, one of the 12 talismans, all linked back to Shendu. That connection is, well, it's crucial.
It really is. It's not just some random magic item. The wiki makes it super clear it's tied directly to Shendu, the big bad dragon demon guy. So how did that happen? What's the actual origin story there?
Well, it's a pretty pivotal moment in the show's lore. Basically, when the sorcerer Lope finally managed to defeat Shendu, he didn't, destroy him.
No. What did he do?
He used his magic and turned Shendu into a stone statue. But, and this is the important bit, that act had this huge magical side effect.
Okay.
Shendu's power, specifically his shape-shifting ability, was sort of ripped out of him.
Whoa.
And that power solidified, basically became the Monkey Talisman, and then, like the other 11 powers, it got scattered across the globe.
So the talisman is literally a piece of Shendu's magic, maybe even his essence, born from his defeat. That's intense for a little monkey term.
Yeah, it gives it a much darker origin than you might think at first glance.
And where did this piece of dragon magic end up? The wiki mentions.
It was found deep beneath the ocean, somewhere in Micronesia.
Wow. Okay. Hidden away. Adds to the whole mystique, doesn't it?
Definitely a suitable hiding place for something like that.
All right, so it's found, it's out there. Now, the fun part, the powers, we
Right.
know it's shape-shifting, but let's get into the nuts and bolts. What can it actually do?
Okay, so the primary power, yeah, it's shape-shifting,
Mhm.
plain and simple. Whoever holds it can transform pretty much anyone or anything.
Anyone or anything, like objects too.
Yep, living beings, inanimate objects,
Yeah.
into any animal. But here's a key constraint the wiki points out. It has to be an animal that currently exists.
Currently exists. Ah, okay, so that grounds it a bit. You can't just whip up a dinosaur then.
Seems not. The wiki actually flags that as an unknown whether it could do extinct animals like a T-Rex. But based on what we see, it sticks to the current animal kingdom.
Interesting. Keeps things slightly less chaotic, maybe. And what about reversing it? If you turn someone into a toad, are they stuck?
Nope. Thankfully, haha. The talisman also gives the user the power to change things back to normal, undo the transformation.
Okay, that's crucial. Otherwise, imagine the permanent damage.
Exactly, it would be absolute mayhem. So that ability to reverse it is pretty important.
So the extinct animals thing, the wiki says it's unknown. That's kind of intriguing. Makes you wonder how the magic works, doesn't it? Is it pulling from like a biological database?
Or maybe just the user's idea of an animal. Yeah, the fact that the show leaves it open is interesting. It suggests the magic is tied to the living world, the now.
Makes sense. Okay, activation. How do you make it work? Do you need like special words or
Surprisingly simple, actually. The source says you just have to say the name of the animal out loud.
just say squirrel and poof?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Or, even easier, you can apparently just think of the animal.
Just think it. Wow, that's dangerously easy to use.
Right. Instant transformations just by thinking. And visually, there's a cue the talisman shoots out a beam of light when it's working.
Ah, okay. The classic magic beam effect. Cool.
Adds a bit of visual punch to it.
All right, we get the origin, how it works. Now let's really see it in action. The wiki has this amazing list of transformations. Let's go through some highlights.
Yeah, this is where it gets fun, seeing the sheer range of what it does.
Okay, so Jackie himself, he gets turned into a yak.
A yak, yeah. And a kangaroo.
A kangaroo, did he get the pouch and everything?
Apparently so. The wiki notes he had a pouch, which is a fun detail. Suggests the transformation is quite thorough, biologically speaking. Oh, and a chinchilla, too.
A yak, a kangaroo, a chinchilla. That's quite the variety. Okay, what about Jade? She must have gotten transformed a bunch.
Oh, definitely. Jade becomes a monkey, fittingly enough.
Yeah.
Or rabbit and a lion.
A lion. Turning Jade into a lion sounds potentially terrifying.
And hilarious. The wiki mentions that when she was a lion, she still had her distinctive hairstyle, like a lion with Jade's pigtails, kind of.
No way. That's brilliant. So bits of the original person sometimes stick.
Seems like it. We see that with other transformations, too. It's not always a total wipe.
Okay, Toru. Big guy. What happened to him?
Toru gets turned into an elephant, which kind of fits his size, maybe,
Yeah, I can see that.
but also a flamingo.
A flamingo. That's amazing. The visual contrast there must have been great.
Pure comedy, yeah. But it's not just the good guys. Even Shendu.
The original owner of the power.
Yep. He gets turned into a rabbit at one point.
Shendu, the dragon demon, as a fluffy bunny.
Exactly. Talk about taking someone down a peg. It shows the talisman's power works even on incredibly powerful magical beings. It can just neutralize them, physically at least.
That's a huge deal. And you mentioned objects earlier.
Right. This is where it gets a bit weird initially. There's an instance where Jade tries to turn a log into, like, a death ray or something.
As you do.
Yeah. But instead, the log becomes a living manta ray.
A living manta ray from a log.
Yeah. Which is interesting because later on, the wiki notes, inanimate objects transformed by the talisman tend to become more like animal-shaped statues, not living creatures.
Huh. So maybe the magic was wilder at first, or Jade didn't know how to control it?
Could be either. Maybe they refined how it worked or understood it better later.
Yeah.
We also see a boulder become an aardvark.
Okay.
A monkey becomes a giraffe, which is animal to animal, obviously.
Yeah.
And Ratson, one of the enforcers, he gets turned into a rat, which is fitting, but also a walrus.
A walrus. Okay.
And even a statue gets turned into a living monkey.
So it can animate something that's already animal-shaped. Cool.
Yeah. Then you get mass transformations like Section 13 personnel becoming rats.
Chaos.
Total chaos. Rocks becoming rats,
Listen,
too.
rocks.
Juan becomes a chihuahua. Haiku gets a whole list. Pigeon, gorilla, bull, tiger, cricket, fish, elephant.
Good grief. That's like a whole magical safari for one person.
Pretty much. The Yak and Bob become cats, and a bunch of henchmen, Renji, Murasaki, Iso's guys, they all get turned into kittens.
Kittens. That's almost cute, but probably still annoying if they're attacking you.
Exactly. It just shows how incredibly versatile and, frankly, unpredictable this thing is. It drives so many plots.
It really does. So digging into some of the trivia or edge cases the wiki points out, we mentioned the log to manta ray versus object to statue thing.
Yeah, that's a really curious inconsistency or maybe evolution of the power.
And what about magical abilities? If someone magical gets transformed?
Yeah, that's super interesting. Remember Shendu as the rabbit?
Yeah.
Even as a little bunny, he could still apparently use his other talisman powers.
Get out. So the transformation is just physical. The magic underneath stays.
Seems that way. It suggests your magical core or whatever isn't tied just to your physical form in this universe.
Yeah.
Which is a cool concept.
Definitely. What else? Anything about gender?
The wiki mentions it's possible to transform someone into an animal of the opposite sex. Adds another layer of potential weirdness, right?
Yeah. And those leftover traits we talked about, Jackie's pouch, Jade's lion mane and hairstyle.
Right. It's like the original template isn't completely overwritten. There's an echo of the person still there in the animal form.
It's not just generic lion. It's Jade as a lion. Subtle difference, but neat.
Exactly. It hints at some deeper connection, perhaps.
So where does this thing actually show up, the wiki list's appearances?
Yeah, it's pretty prominent, especially early on. Season 1 is full of it. There's a flashback in Project A for Astral. Then the episode The Jade Monkey is obviously centered on it.
Makes sense.
The Tiger the Pussycat, Day of the Dragon. That's where we see Rabbit Shendu. And it pops up again later in Season 5, Episode 13.
Okay, so it wasn't just a Season 1 gimmick. It had staying power throughout the series.
For sure. It was a core part of the Talisman mythology.
So wrapping this all up, our deep dive really shows the Monkey Talisman isn't just the shape-shifting one. It's got this direct link to Shendu's defeat.
A fragment of his power, yeah.
It transforms living things, non-living things, into existing animals. You can reverse it. You activate it just by thinking.
Super easy, super dangerous, and we saw that huge list of transformations from yaks to kittens.
Plus those weird quirks like the living manta ray versus statues and keeping magic powers even as a rabbit.
It really highlights the show's creative approach to magic.
Mm-hmm.
It could be funny, it could be a major threat, it could solve problems or cause them.
Totally. Okay, this was awesome. Really got into the weeds of the Monkey Talisman. So for our final thought, something to leave you, the listener, thinking about. Considering everything we talked about, the sheer range of forms, the fact that objects can become animals, that hints of the original person might remain, if this power was real, what kind of, identity crises might pop up?
Ooh, good one.
Like if you could become anything and maybe parts of you linger or parts of the animal influence you, Could you actually lose track of who or even what you fundamentally are? Does that boundary just dissolve?
That's a deep question. The philosophical side of shapeshifting. What happens to the self when the form is so fluid? Definitely something to chew on.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining me on this shifting exploration.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.